Hello. As Michael said, I'm Calvin Gladney, and I'm President and CEO of Smart Growth America, located in Washington, D.C. I'm excited to address you today because the focus of this webinar and this webinar series is important to me and to the Smart Growth movement. And all of this aligns with the goals of my organization, Smart Growth America. I'd like to thank the Smart Growth Network, EPA's Office of Community Revitalization, the Office of Brownfields and Land Revitalization, and EPA regional staff for creating this webinar series together to spread the word about smart growth. And just in case you're not aware or trying to figure out, well, what is smart growth? Well, smart growth is a way to build cities, towns, and neighborhoods that are economically prosperous, racially equitable, and environmentally sustainable. As we covered 2 weeks ago in our Smart Growth Equity Summit, we believe that smart growth is an approach that can help address the economic, social, and public health disparities that are afflicting America's underserved communities. Smart Growth America, along with many of the good folks at EPA and others who are members of the Smart Growth Network, help people find resources and tools to make their neighborhoods better places to live, work, and play. We believe smart growth solutions support thriving businesses and jobs, provide more options for people to get around, and make it more affordable to live near where they work and the grocery store. We really do want to empower people to create more thriving places, to save money, and to improve the environment. Now, I wanted to reflect on the title of this webinar series. It's called Learning from and Leaning on Local Leaders to Revitalize African American Neighborhoods. I mean, that title has special meaning for me and my work at Smart Growth America. And it's because the biggest thing I've learned from all of this work, and if your focus today as you listen to this is thinking about how to achieve more equitable development, you have to know that equity is never the default option. Environmental justice is never the default option. As a matter of fact, building the capacity and supporting CDCs and community-based organizations is never the default option. We have to operate with intentionality, with urgency, and a focus on long-term investments, which you're going to learn from this webinar, in order to achieve equitable development, to support Black and Brown neighborhoods, and to support the small businesses that really help these neighborhoods grow and thrive. Now, we're living in a pretty exciting time with multiple levels of government squarely focused on environmental justice and improving the quality of life in underserved communities. It's awesome that the EPA and its environmental resources and expertise are working hand in hand with other federal agencies and their experts in housing, public health, transportation, job creation and training, economic development, and other fields to bring the full force of all the levels of government to improve communities that have been neglected for way too long. And we at SGA, we share this kind of interdisciplinary, interconnected approach to community revitalization and believe that it's 100% key to focusing on underserved communities, and particularly Black and Brown ones. And look, it's not so easy to change communities and to create change in them as well. All of it can seem overwhelming. So how can we best organize our thoughts and work together to address the complex and interrelated problems that communities face? Well, examples of tried and true practices can help, such as those you're going to hear about today. And this seminar and this particular webinar will focus on building the capacity of community nonprofits, which is also a critical part of making any of these things happen. So the examples you're going to hear today include a complex mix of challenges: environmental contamination, poor housing quality, poor indoor air, a lack of living wage jobs, lack of healthy food, blight, open space challenges, poor transportation options, and other factors. But let me tell you, nonprofits such as community development corporations, or CBCs, also community-based organizations, or CBOs, are really key to improving these issues and conditions and we have to figure out better ways to support and build their capacity. The webinars in this series provide lessons from leaders in African American communities who spark positive change in the quality of life for their community residents. I'm excited about this webinar, partially because it's lifting up the voice of African American leaders who can give their personal experience and their lived experience on how to actually revitalize these communities. Oftentimes, you'll find webinars that are lifting up the voices of people who aren't from those communities and talking about how to revitalize them. So I want to celebrate and congratulate the EPA and all the various offices for lifting up the voices of the leaders from those communities. And we can all draw a lot of inspiration and wisdom from these stories of the past as we create strategies for the future. Speaking of inspiration, you'll see a link to my Smart Growth America website at the end of this webinar, just in case you want to find more useful information on all the things you're going to hear today about equitable development and environmental justice. So on behalf of my friends at the US EPA, the Maryland Department of Planning, and Smart Growth America, I thank you for joining us today.